How are we doing today? Anyone want to share some wins on their capstones or their interviews or their resumes or we're nearing the end. It's important to celebrate that we are close to the end with any wins that we're feeling, any frustrations. Where are we at?
I got accepted into CAN code.
Wow, awesome. Congratulations.
And I start September 26th, and they're gonna give me some financial aid.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Congrats, Christy.
Thanks. So I will be furthering my education.
Always important as a developer. Your education is never done. If you don't want to continue learning, development may not be the right field for you. After a break, after careers and code, of course. What else?
On a break, because like, what are we gonna do? I think that next Monday, after that Thursday, I'm gonna want to get on Zoom.
I know there is a lot of people have said that, and I know a lot of cohorts have scheduled like monthly meetups to continue staying in touch after the cohort. Cohort 2 was particularly interesting because we were fully remote, the whole cohort. There was no hybrid, there was nothing in person. And so I don't even know that we did kickoff in person. I can't remember, but anyway, graduation was right at the point where, like, you know, it started becoming acceptable to meet in person, and you know, as long as you had your vaccination, you could show up to graduation. And it was just so weird meeting people that I had spent the whole cohort with and had never met in person. And you know, it's the normal stuff. I didn't think you were going to be that tall, or you know, all the different stuff. But it will be nice to certainly be in person in the next couple of weeks and celebrate your graduation.
Are you guys still recruiting?
Cohort 4?
I guess, or just in general?
So cohort 4 admissions are officially open. If you go to careersandcode.org, that's a great question. Feel free to, if you think of anyone who you think would be a good fit for the program, careersandcode.org has our application link on it. Admissions do close on this Sunday for the next cohort. So cohort 4 kicks off on the 15th of September, and I believe it that's our kind of kickoff ceremony, and then classes start on the 19th. But the admissions process is open until this Sunday. It is a very similar process to what you guys went through in terms of Code Academy and the take-home assessment, and an interview. The interviews are with me. You just schedule a 45-minute block and we go through a couple questions. One of my favorite questions that we have modified a little bit, but the question is, in programming, it's important to celebrate a lot of small victories. What steps would you take to shorten a feedback loop in order to maintain momentum on a project? That is the hardest of the questions and one of my new favorites. In fact, I sent that to one of our graduates and she was like, I love that question so much. I think I want to build my professional development around it. So it's one of my favorite questions, and I try and warn applicants. I say, don't be afraid to ask questions, because you probably don't know what a feedback loop is, right? So when you're asked a question in an interview, you shouldn't just panic and come up with an answer as soon as possible. Don't be afraid to push back on the interviewer, right? Don't be afraid to ask additional questions. And that all goes back to my tip of, whenever an interview feels like a conversation, not a interrogation, you've done the interview well. Because the interviewer is going to show up and have a list of 15 questions. And if they get through the list of 15 questions and feel no connection with you, why would they want to work with you 40 hours a week, right? So part of that mock interviewing process is getting it to feel like a conversation. When they ask you a question, yeah, you should answer the question because that's what they're taking notes on, but don't be afraid to push back and say, what's the feedback loop? What do you mean momentum on a project? You know, how does this apply to the job role that I'm working in? Or push back on them, and once you give them an answer, say, do you find yourself shortening feedback loops often in your job? Right? Or just follow up with the question, get to know them a little bit better, have questions prepared to know what their work day looks like. Have questions prepared to know what the company culture is like. There are certain things that a job description will not capture. And so those are the right interview questions to be asking, because the interview process should feel like them wanting to get to hire you as much as you would like to work for them. And so finding that balance is very important. And a recruiter is prepared for worst case scenario to get into an interview and the person has no personality, has no questions prepared, and is just there because they hit the apply button 100 times on LinkedIn and they actually got an interview. So you need to come into interviews prepared. You need to come into interviews with questions ready specifically for that company. And you need to be prepared for to be asking questions that you can't get answered anywhere else. And all of those tips are what are going to foster the connection and have a successful interview.
So feedback loop, is that sort of like the form that you guys ask us to fill out every evening?
That is an awesome example of a feedback loop. Yes, we solicit that feedback and we try and do it in a way that is structured enough that we can maintain those metrics and get the right outputs of it, but open enough that you feel that you can voice anything there. And in fact, that feedback loop was shortened in the first cohort because we had a form that was a weekly feedback form, but it took 15 minutes to fill out and it asked 100 different questions. And we found students just weren't filling it out because they were like, all I really want to say is I'm not getting this concept and I want to review it. Or all I really want to say is, you know, this teaching style isn't working for me and I zoned out at a certain point, or, you know, whatever it is. So that is a great example of shortening a feedback loop, of making the form a little bit easier, getting more engagement from that form. And because of that, we do the flip side of the loop, right? Of now we need to incorporate that feedback. So talking about how do we incorporate feedback sooner? How do we get the right people involved in the conversation? How do we make sure that the loop is continuing so that when more feedback does come in, we're able to integrate that and improve on that? So a feedback loop can be something as short as, I wrote out a couple lines of code. I added a console log. The computer told me what the output was. The output wasn't right. So I went back into my code and I debugged a little bit more and adjusted the log or adjusted the code. Or it could be something as complex as, we released a new version of the software. We got feedback that the features weren't being used as we intended, or we had end users, use this new thing and they didn't like the way it was working, or they didn't get the results that they were expecting. So we took that feedback back into the project and adjusted it to make sure that it was hitting expectations. So a feedback loop is it can be very many things, and it's very interesting to see how students perceive what a feedback loop is and how they implement it.
I was at a event on Sunday and I was sitting at a table with a young lady named Indaria Jones.
Okay.
And I was talking to someone else, but I was telling her what I was doing. And then that's when Indaria said that she was having an event at she has a place, Creators Lounge. She told me they were having an event, a recruiting event at her place, I think tomorrow. So yeah, so that's why I asked about the recruiting, because just happened to be at the same table and having the conversation.
Yeah, and we've had we've had connections with Creators Lounge before. They're a great organization, and definitely something, if you have any more details, feel free to share it with the students. I think we even, in our co-working memberships, we may have gotten like a discount through them. I can't remember, but a discount for co-working memberships. But Creators Lounge is a great organization, and has great outreach. So definitely feel free to utilize their resources. All right, how are we feeling about yesterday's class? Making sense. We did create account flow. I am going to recommend, Ariel is running a little late. She should be here around 6. I am going to open a breakout room, and you guys can actually assign yourselves to it. So tonight we are going through the reset password flow. It is probably going to be one of the most advanced features that we have worked on, because it needs to be initiated from the front end. It needs to call a function in the back end. That back end function is going to call a third-party API to send an email. That email that is going to get sent is going to include a link that needs to come all the way back to our front end. The front end is going to get the new user password. That user password is going to get sent along with a token to the back end. The token gets validated and resets the password. And after all of that flow, we need to bring the user to the front end. So we are going to document those steps out in a basic Trello board, and then we are going to dive into the implementation of all of that. With all of that said, if you are still feeling behind on your capstone and would like to just work on that instead, I am going to open up a breakout room, and you guys are welcome to move in there. As soon as Ariel gets here, I will move her into that, and hopefully she'll be able to help you guys. But what you guys want to focus on, if you are behind on your capstone, basic capstone requirements, you've got a front end. It can be in React, or it can be in vanilla HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. It does not need to be in React, but you need some front end. You need a backend set up with SQLize. That means that you've got your Express server up and running. That means that you've got a model created for SQLize. That means you can see the table in Beekeeper. Then you need to create an endpoint and get that data flowing from your front end to your back end to your database, and from your database to the back end to the front end. That's going to be your fetch. That's going to be your res.send. That's going to be your model.findAll. Once that information is in the front end, you need some way to display it in your HTML. So you need some .map function or some for loop that is going to either set state or use inner HTML. Once you have met those requirements, you have met all the requirements of the capstone. Anything after that is what you want to show off to your friends and family at graduation. So if you can get to that basic flow, you have met the requirements. And at that point, I would suggest that you take a step away from the computer, get out paper and pencil, and figure out to you what features are most important. I know I helped a student today, and they didn't struggle on the code at all. There were so many things that they wanted to get done that they get lost in what to work on next. So many times I have seen that, and the right answer is never code. It's take a step back and identify what things you need to get done. Once you get that done, the next step is not to jump to your code, it's to prioritize that list, figure out what the dependencies are, figure out what you need to work on next, and then you focus on only the top item in the list. You do not work on multiple things at the same time. You say, this is the one thing I am getting done. And if I have to get something else done, if I realize something else pops up or there's another dependency, I'm going to take whatever I was working on my doing list, move it back to my to-do list, and focus in on that one item in my doing, right? So important to keep track of that. Project management, on top of communication, persistence, and the willingness to learn, is probably project management is a top 5 skill that I consider in developers. Being a good developer is not just about knowing how to code. It is about knowing when to ask questions. It is about identifying what you're working on and staying focused. And it's about using your resources to get yourself unstuck. Any questions on any of that? Okay, so we are going to get started on our password reset flow by doing a little project planning. But before I jump into that, everything that we're covering tonight is far from a requirement for your capstone. You do not need to get this done. So if you feel like you would be better off going into the breakout room and just working on your capstone, bouncing ideas off of each other, asking questions that you have, that is going to be totally fine. The capstone requirements are something that Ariel shared last night. They may be due for a revision, but here is the link. I am dumping that into the chat so you have it. Was also posted last night at 8:05 in the live stream channel. This might be a little verbose. We may need to pare that down a little bit, but that is a good overview document. Today at 12:08, I also posted all of the links regarding the Lemoyne Job Fair. I highly, highly, highly recommend that if you can get to that, show up. With that said, do some planning in advance. If you can make it, identify what employers you want to talk to, identify what questions you want to ask them, and come up with that itinerary and plan before you show up for the job fair. Believe it or not, job fairs are something you need to prepare for. And it's not just having your resume ready, it's knowing what employers you want to talk to. Because if you walk into that career fair and plan on talking to all 50 employers, by the time you get to the third one, you're going to have no fucks left to give. You want to come in, you want to be prepared and enthusiastic and have a prioritized list of who you want to talk to. There's nothing wrong with going in there and saying, hey, I was on your job site. I didn't see any opportunities that were a good fit for me, but I really like that your company does X, Y, and Z. I would love to be considered for a position if any software engineering roles open up. That is a great thing to say to a recruiter. Get to know them, have the questions prepared. The info session for that is going to be September 15th at 6 p.m. It is a Zoom session. I have the link added there. If you are able to attend or would like Erie 21 and Lemoyne's career assistance, even if you are not able to attend, there is also a link to RSVP. So whether you can attend or you would like some additional career assistance, feel free to fill out that form. And the top link in that is a link to all of the employers that will be there. So important to do your research before you start a conversation with the company. They want you to be as excited to work for them as they are to hire you. That is the #1 goal of networking and job interviews, is for you both to be excited. So check out that message. I will post a link to that in the Zoom chat so you can jump right to it. And I will open the floor up to any questions, because God knows I don't normally take a breath to talk.
Do we need to raise our hand?
No, go ahead.
So I was looking at the link you sent and I was seeing something about a hack event. So like some of the stuff that we've created, when you go to a hack event, is this Like if you went in, started from scratch, created a project, front end, back end, created a database, that's what you would do in the 24 hours at a hack event?
A hackathon, yeah. That's where Hack Upstate got its start, was hosting hackathons, and we're hoping to be able to host one next year. Finally, with the pandemic seeming to settle down a little bit. So Hack Upstate, I know, has tentative plans to host an event, another hackathon next year. With that said, yeah, I went to probably 25 different hackathons while I was in college, and they literally paid to fly me all over the country, and all we did was make projects. So one project we made was an Alexa skill, which is basically what Alexa calls an app. And we said, hey, wouldn't it be really cool if you could say, Alexa, name the song with the lyrics, and then you put in a line of the lyrics. Well, we went to this hackathon and Amazon was one of the sponsors. So we went up to them and said, hey, we're struggling with this particular thing. We can't get her to recognize more than like 2 or 3 words. And so the guy was like, oh, I actually worked on the original team that developed Alexa. That seems like a legitimate thing. Give me 30 minutes and I'll get back to you. And so he came back up to her table like a half hour later and said, yeah, it wasn't working the way I thought it did. So I just pushed an update. It will be live to every Alexa across the country in the next 15 minutes. And you can just use it by using the syntax. And it was like, what? Like, we thought he was going to point us at some documentation or tell us how to work around it. And he was like, oh no, I still have access to that code. Let me just push out a quick update and then your skill will do exactly what you want it to. And sure enough, the team I was working with on that hackathon ended up winning an Amazon prize. And like a year later, now Amazon has that built in, so you don't even have to like use this particular skill. So hackathons are an awesome opportunity to kind of test your boundaries, to learn something new, to be working in a collaborative environment, and to just bang out a project in a short amount of time. Any other questions before we dive in tonight? Okay. Before I open the breakout room, I'm going to give everyone just a quick refresher on Trello. Just so if you are feeling like you are drowning in your capstone and feel like you could do a little bit better project management, which may make the actual execution of the capstone easier. I'm going to pull up Trello and show you guys where we're at. Let me just log in really quickly. Oh. I am not logged in. Okay. So we are going to do a bit of project planning, and then I will open up the room. If anyone wants to switch over to working on their capstone together, you can join that room. Otherwise, we will be in this room working on, we're going to be working on that password reset feature. So to get started, I'm just going to make an entirely new board here. because oftentimes when we work on projects, we get cluttered with all the different things that we're trying to work on. So I personally take the approach of working with a new board whenever I start on a project. So I'm going to make my board title reset password. Obviously reset password is a feature. So really what I would do is say like blog project. Actually, that's probably a better name. And I'm gonna make it in my Trello workspace. And visibility, you can make it private or you can make it workspace, doesn't really matter. I'm gonna make mine public in case you guys want to see it, and then I am going to hit create. So I like to break my board into 4 columns and 4 columns only. Everyone works with Trello a little differently, but I like to do my to-do, my doing, my done, and my roadblocked. And when I do my roadblocked, it makes sense to put it all the way over here, but I don't like putting it there. I like putting it right here. And the reason I do that is because whenever I start with a new task, I need to consciously not go to my to-do list. I need to go to my roadblock list and identify why those tasks are roadblocked. Are they roadblocked because I need to get something else done? Are they roadblocked because I'm waiting to hear back from someone else? And if I'm waiting to hear back from someone else, do I need to follow up with them? Because so much of project management isn't on you, it's about collaboration with the team. And so whenever you have something in roadblocked, when you move something from doing to done, before you go back to this to-do list and figure out what you're working on next, it's always worthwhile reading through that roadblock list quickly and seeing if what you just accomplished now clears a roadblock, or if you need to follow up with the person of who you are roadblocked by to identify that task. Okay, so we have identified that we want to implement a reset password feature. I would be shocked if any single one of you had not had to reset a password at some point in your lives. So with that said, what's the first thing that we're going to need to implement in order to get our reset password working?
Like a reset password.js or something?
Yeah, a step even before that. In order to have the reset password.js, what do we need to do? You're on the right track, Nicole. That's step number 2.
Click on the reset password button.
Add link to reset password to login page. Then create component and route to reset password page. Okay, now what's that page need to look like? What do you have to do to reset a password?
You have to put in your email or whatever you
form to enter email address. Okay, now that we've done that, what happens from there?
It has to trigger something so that it'll send the email to the person.
Trigger an API call to send email. But in order to send an email, we're going to need to use a setup third-party email sending service. Then we need to actually send the password reset email. Okay, now that we've sent the password reset email, what happens from there?
Inside the password reset email, they're going to have to create a new email and then send that back.
A new email?
I mean, inside that email, they're going to have to create a new password and then hit send for it to come back. Or will it trigger it from within the email?
Yeah, so think about that. When you've gotten a password reset email, Have you ever replied to the email to reset the password, or what did you do in that password reset flow?
You reset it with inside
way.
the email,
It normally brings you to a page so you could reset your password, right?
or it
Yep.
redirects you back to the page. It can redirect you back. It's a link that redirects you back.
So we're gonna say send the password reset email that includes a link to reset the password. Then we need to create component and route to set the password page. Then we need to make the set password page have a form to enter new password. And then what happens once they click that reset button?
Doesn't need to check to see if the password meets the password guidelines.
Normally, yes,
You need to
but,
have a confirmation to say it actually got resetted.
but
no?
before we can have the confirmation, how do we actually change the password?
You have to change it in the database.
And in order to change something in the database, what do we have to do?
Create a database.
Does that have to be authenticated or anything like that?
We
No.
need to, we're gonna get to that, Christy. We need to
Oh,
make an endpoint that actually resets the password. And then we need to take user to login page and tell them it's been reset.
Hmm.
Simple little feature. I don't know why anyone would get confused about all of these steps, right?
Right.
Okay, does anyone have questions on this before we dive in to actually making it all happen?
It seems like kind of mainly all the steps that we done before.
Except for the sending of an email, yes.
Is that kind of going to be like that one email thing we did with the API or no?
The mail this to? Is that what you're
Yeah.
thinking of? No, it's
Yeah.
gonna be pretty different.
Okay.
Zach, go ahead.
Is the part where we create the token, make an endpoint that actually resets the password?
You're spoiling my fun as part of this project planning process, but yes, we will need to generate a token. And that is something that I'm planning on dealing with as it pops up. Any other questions? Okay, so if you are enticed by this project, you are welcome to stick around. If you are feeling like you are overwhelmed, what you can do instead for your overwhelmed on your capstone, let me be specific there. By the way, out of that form that you filled out last night of how you were feeling on your capstone, no one put higher than a 3 of how are you feeling out of 5. So just to give everyone context, it is okay to feel that way. It is a boot camp. I would feel like I wasn't doing my job if you put a 4 or a 5 down there. So just wanted to let everyone know that everyone is in some stage of panic over their capstone. However, important to learn these concepts to test your boundaries, but at the same time identify, man, what I really need on my capstone right now is time. So I'm going to open up the breakout room. Whoever would like to go work on their capstone instead is welcome to go over there. However, I would highly recommend if you're going into that room, fire up Trello, pull out a whiteboard, get a notebook. It doesn't matter what you're doing, but get your game plan together. Get your steps in this fashion, because you can read every one of these steps and go, yeah, I can figure out how to do that, right? That's something where I may not know how to do it, but I know enough that is a specific enough task that I feel that I can accomplish that. So you want to focus your task creation on actionable items, because something as broad as make full stack call work in front end is not going to be actionable. But breaking that down into create React app, set up router, create express, set up SQLized model, create first endpoint, make a fetch. All of those are very broken down to the point that when one of them is done, you know it is done and you can easily move on to the next item. So we're going to flow through all of these steps tonight. But if you would like to go work on your capstone instead, that's totally fine. What I would highly encourage is come up with this list and feel free to Slack me your list when it's done. Even if it's a picture of a whiteboard or your handwritten list, I am happy to provide feedback on what is remaining on your capstone. And that goes for everyone, that even if you're following along tonight. If you've got a capstone list and you would like some feedback on it from me, I am happy to provide that feedback. Just shoot me a Slack message and I'll get you feedback on it by tomorrow. Any questions before I open up the breakout room? Okay, so I'm going to create one breakout room. I'm going to rename this room as capstone and open all rooms. Okay, the room is opened. So if anyone would like to go work on their capstone and not hear my voice for the next 2 hours, little over 2 hours, little under 2 hours, we're going to end at 8 and come back together. You are welcome to join that breakout room and go work on your capstone instead, with a focus of getting your project management footing first.
Max, how do we get into the breakout room?
Down at the bottom of the screen, you should have an option for breakout rooms. And from there, you should be able to join.
Okay, I see it. Thank you.
Okay. We ready to dive in? Ooh, I've got the power to be God. If I hold down B, the other room can hear me from just emanating into that room. Okay. So we're going to start where we left off yesterday with the blog project. I am dropping a link into the live stream channel with starter code. So if you would like to start on that code, you totally can. If you would prefer to implement this feature on your capstone and already have a login page in place, you can totally do that. Or if you were working on code yesterday and would prefer to have that set up, you are welcome to do that too. So I happen to have my front end and back end already opened up from yesterday, but I don't actually want to do that because I want to be working off the day 2 folder. So I am duplicating my day 1. I'm renaming it as day 2. I'm popping open my backend into VS Code and my front end into VS Code. I am opening my integrated terminal in both. I am npming I in both, npm I, npm I. That is regenerating my node modules for me. I had them deleted to generate the zip. I'm going to npm run start on both of them. I'm going to my login page. I've got my create account link. And I am starting live streams for both of them. Maybe I'm starting live streams for both of them. VS Code is taking its sweet, sweet time tonight. There we go. And I'm going to do a quick poll to see where you guys are at. If you've got your front end open at this point, you should just be able to get to your login screen. We haven't done anything. We've just popped open both projects, made sure they were both running in the terminal without any errors.
Are the live show links in Slack?
Yes, they are. I will post them in the Zoom channel as well. There you go. Okay, looks like most of you are ready to go. Okay, so we are running off our Trello board, right? That is first and foremost. So add link to reset login page. We're putting that over in doing. That way, if I get a call in the middle of class and I come back and I go, where was I? I remember what I'm doing. This is also a way to report your status out to your team so your team knows what you're working on in case anything pops up. So add link to password reset page. Well, we already have a link in my login page to create new account. Wouldn't it be cool if we just added a new link just like that link? I'm just adding some BR tags so there's spacing, and we say link to forgot password. And it's going to have the forgot password text in there. So we switch back over to our browser, and there's our forgot password link. So some tasks, believe it or not, are as simple as a 1 minute long task, but still important to break those out, because while you might get lost on this, looking at this feature as a whole, it's very easy to get overwhelmed by all of the steps, but breaking it down into these small steps makes you realize that, hey, when I get stuck on one of the others, I can look at what I've gotten done and look at all of those accomplishments. So now I come back and I say, create a component and a route to reset the password page. Okay, well, what happens when I click on reset password? I get a blank screen. Of course I do. I need to reset the password on that. So I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to say forgot password.js. I'm going to make it my const forgot password. And that's going to return a function. That's going to return a div. That's going to have an h1 that says forgot password. Then we are going to export our default forgot password. And then we are going to go to our app.js and say, hey, in addition to the login and create account, we're going to have a route with a path of forgot password. And that's going to link to an element that comes from the forgot password, and that automatically added the import for me up here. And so all we need to do is close off our tags. And now I come over here and I've got my forgot password. Pausing there to make sure that we've got our add link to reset password page and our create component and route to that page. So I move that over to my done list. And we pause here in case anyone needs to catch up. Let me do a quick poll to see where you guys are at. To review, we created our forgot password, forgot password.js. We created our component, our functional component. We returned a div that has our h1 forgot password. We export our default password. Then we head over to app.js and add in our forgot password right here. Okay, moving on. Thank you guys for voting. Makes the flow so much easier. Okay, so now what did we say we're working on next? Create a form to enter an email address. Well, in order to reset your password, we need to know what email you would like to reset. So I come over to my create form to enter and I say, all right, that's going to be a form. In that form, there's going to be an input with a type of email. And let's put a class name on that of form-control. And maybe let's put a label that says email address. Okay, once we have our input, we also need a button that is a type submit. It's going to have a class name of BTN and BTN primary. These are Bootstrap classes. If you ever needed the documentation on that, of course, you could always go to getbootstrap.com, go to the docs, and under the components, you could look at buttons, and from there you get all of your class names that you would need to reference. But for our front end, we've got our button. We are going to say send link. And we come over here, we look, and we've got our email address and our send link. Is it pretty? No. Is it functional? It will be. Okay, from there, what was our next step? Our next step was trigger an API call to send the email. Zach, go ahead.
Can I share my screen?
Mm-hmm.
So this is what I have already.
Okay.
Do I have to modify any of that? I know I have this set as like an input instead of a button.
If you make that a button, all you need to do is take the whatever's in the value and here, let me just this will be easier. We're just going to take this value and move it to inside the button. And then we close off the button. And then we can take this value off entirely. And then the other conversion we need to do is make this outer div a form, because form components behave a little differently. And you're going to see that in the on submit in 1 second. And then you've got type email. So that should be good to go.
Okay, thanks.
No problem. Okay, any other questions? Cool. Okay, so now we need to make our API call. So we take our create form to enter email address, and I trigger the API call to send the email. We are just plugging along here. Okay, so now we say, okay, when this form is submitted, what do we want to do? We want to send password reset email. So we come up here and we say const send password reset email. It's going to be an async function because we know we're going to be doing some fetch work. And we say, hey, our const response is going to await a fetch to our API URL. And our API URL is going to trigger forgot password. And that is going to be a method that posts to the database. And there are going to be some headers on that because when we send some content in the body, it is going to be application JSON. And when we do send that body, we need to JSON.stringify it. And when we stringify, we would like to send the email address. And it would help if I didn't put in extra syntax. Okay, we're sending email address. Email address is down here. What do we use to link those two together?
LinkedIn.
What ties our data into our JavaScript code?
The database? Or no? I
Before it
don't know.
gets to the database,
Are we looking for a state variable?
we are. In order to get access to what is typed in here, we need to tie this input to state so that we can get access to it. So we import useState from React. We say const email and set email are coming from a useState, which is an empty string. And then down here, we need to say, hey, the value of this input is going to be the email. And when the input changes, take the event of that change and set the email to whatever the target of the change is and get the value out from that. So now we email and set email. The value of this input is the email coming up from the state. And whenever this input is changed, it takes the value of the event and sets it into the email so that when we send the password reset email, this email works. Pausing for a quick poll, or if anyone has questions on that flow.
Would you mind running through the explanation one more time real quick?
Of the use state or the whole async flow, the whole fetch.
The whole thing.
Okay, so we started off pretty basic, right? So we say, hey, we've got an H1 that we added to this page. We've got the route, we've got the component set up. Let's set up a form. When we set up our form, we're going to use an input. We're going to set the type. This class name is coming in through Bootstrap. Then we add our button, we do another Bootstrap, and we've got our front end kind of done. So now we go to the next step of, okay, what happens when they click this submit button? So we set up this on submit that says send password reset email. We come up here and we create our function and we say, okay, we're going to fetch our API URL is coming in from this other file. So it makes it easy to update everything. We're going to send this into a new endpoint that we have yet to create called forgot password. But we need to send some information about the forgot password. We need to send what account email that they're trying to reset. So we say, all right, we're going to post up to the backend. The headers are going to include the content type application JSON because we need to send the body type in. Then in the body, we are going to stringify the email. So the problem is we're going to say, well, where do we get this email from? The email is what they typed in here, but we need some access to it. So whenever we cross a boundary and say, we need some information that's typed in here above the return, or whenever we've got some information above the return that we need to get into the return, we use state to bridge that gap. So we say, okay, when we use state, we need to import it because it's coming in from React. We put the empty quotes here because it's starting out as an empty text field. And use state returns two things: the value of the thing actually in state and this function to set state so that when we do set the state, it knows that something has changed. So now that we've pulled that out of React, we need to integrate that into our input. So we come down to the input and we say, hey, the value of that input is now going to be email. But whenever that input changes, get the event of the change, pull the value out from it and set it into the state. So when this on submit fires, it's pulling out the email, which is getting updated by the set from the on change so that when we send the email to the backend, it can flow all the way back to the input. Was that helpful or just way too freaking fast?
No, I appreciate that. Thank you.
It's so easy to look at this complete code and be like, I have no idea what this is doing. But when you break it down from the what order did we make this in and what order is the computer running through it in, oftentimes those two overlap. Go ahead, Zach. You're muted.
On line 7, is that referencing the forgot password.js file?
No, that's referencing an endpoint we haven't created yet.
Okay.
So the fetch is what is bridging the gap between our front end and our back end. Whenever we fetch, we're making a request to the back end and expecting a response.
Okay. Yeah, my file is named password reset.js, so I just wanted to verify that there wasn't anything I had
No
to-
problem there. No, what we're about to create this endpoint next, and this just has to match with what we're going to put in the back end. It has nothing to do with the file name.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone need help or stuck anywhere? This doesn't actually work yet. We just wired it all up. Okay, good to roll forward or any waits?
I have one question. It's a little bit of a tangent.
Yeah, sure, go for it.
I have heard you discuss this in the past, but it's never happened to me. When I go to localhost 3000, I'm seeing my blog content, but I'm seeing your pages with my content in it.
Refresh and try again.
Oh, it's back to mine. Thank you.
I stopped mine.
It's weird. I thought it would be one or the other, but it was like blending the two together. All right, thank you.
No problem. I don't know why that happens. I mean, I know I'm sharing my 3000. I don't know why it is so intermittent. Zach, go ahead.
I put async under send password reset email, but it's telling me that the word await is unexpected on line 7.
Just check your equal syntax here. Make sure it's exactly the same and that you're closing curly braces at the right spot.
Oh, I think I have an extra equal sign. That's
Um,
probably why.
Yeah, I screwed up the typing of that, so I'm not surprised.
Quick question, Max. The
Yep.
const test function, is that just something random?
Where's my const test function?
Login at line 43.
Oh, yeah, that was totally not necessary.
Okay, no, never mind.
Doug was asking me questions I didn't have the answers to.
Think I should be all caught up then.
Cool. Okay, so we don't even need to test this because we've got this trigger an API call to send an email, but we haven't made that API call. So of course, if we come in here and go into inspect and then send, myself an email, we're immediately going to get a 40. Oh, no, we're not. We're going to get a reminder that whenever we submit a form and make an API call ourselves, we need to add an event.prevent default. So if we add this event prevent default, don't forget to add the EVT to the parentheses up here. Now, when we send this and send a link, we got a 404 not found. Well, of course it's not found. We haven't made that yet. So we go over to our server.js, and I'm going to come down here, maybe after my login code, and I'm going to say server.post, and we're going to say forgot password. And that's going to take an async rec res because we're probably going to have to do something with the database. And before we forget, let's put a res.send and say something like message password has been reset. Go check your email. Okay, well, we know they sent in their email address in the rec.body.email. So this forgot password here is lining up with this forgot password here. This post here is lining up with this post here. And this email is lining up with the rec.body here. So before we can reset their password, we need to see if they've got a user account. They may not have a user account. So I'm going to go to our user model, and I'm going to look at this and crap. We've got a username. We don't have an email address. Okay, well, if this were a production app, I wouldn't be able to just change everyone's email to a username because I don't know what everyone's email is. But if I go over to my beekeeper and I connect in to my blog project and I look at my users, I don't need all these test users. I'm just going to click on them and Oh, I can't multi-select. Can't multi-select. Okay, I'm just gonna delete out some of these users because I don't need all of these test users. And I'm gonna hit apply. And then I'm gonna change my username. I'm gonna update my app. So instead of using username, I'm gonna use email address instead. So I'm gonna open a new tab up at the top and I'm gonna say alter table users. And I'm gonna have to Google this alter table change column name. Oh, that's convenient. Alter table, table name, rename column, old column name to new column name. Okay, can do that. So I'm going to say the table name is users. The old column name is going to be username. And the new column name is going to be email.
Couldn't you just add an email?
I could add another column, but I think it's I would rather just sign in with an email than a username personally. But yeah, you could say alter table users, add column username, and then the type is varchar 255. And I think that would also work.
Okay.
But I'm going to personally rename mine. So I'm going to highlight that and run selection. It says 0 rows were affected, but if I look over at my users, I now have an email instead of a username. Zach, go ahead.
It's telling me column users does not exist.
Column username.
I have mine as users.
So in your users table, what does your users table look like over on the sidebar?
Oh, I see. Yeah.
If you already have an email in your capstone for a user, you don't need to go through this step.
Okay.
So,
Yep.
so, cause I had a user ID. So is my user just the ID now?
Your user should still have an ID. I changed my username to an email.
Yeah, I have the same as you. So,
Okay. Then what was your question? Sorry.
never mind.
Okay. So whenever we update our alter table here, we also need to make sure that when we're in our model, we don't have this username anymore. So we're going to confuse the heck out of Sequelize if we don't also update that to email. So I update my model to email, and then finally in my users table, I want to go update this because this is the old username, right? So I'm going to make the email what it actually is. And hit the apply button down here. And now my table is up to date. Doug, go ahead.
Can I share my screen?
You can now.
All right, so I'm in my Heroku
Yep.
database, so I wanted to go. Oh, I just have to open a new beekeeper, right?
Correct.
Why do I have these? Are these all different?
Those are all
Databases?
other databases that Heroku is hosting. But if you tried to connect to any of them, you would get an authentication failure.
Okay, thank you. I need a new beekeeper and go local.
Yes.
Thanks.
Okay, how are we feeling? You guys need more time? You want another explanation? Good?
Oh, never mind.
Okay, rolling forward then. Feel free to stop me at any point. Small enough group, I'm happy to review anything that we just did. Okay. So back in my forgot oh, go ahead.
Can you just show me one last time? Is it just the forgot password email and the send link? Is it supposed to do anything else after that?
No, we just started in the back end getting this forgot password set up.
Okay.
We did that and then we modified our users.js to use email instead of username.
Yeah, I got that.
Cool. So I'm going to say const user equals await our user.find1 where their email address matches the rec.body.email that got sent in. And if there is a user, we are going to reset their password here. Else, we're going to say res.send error. You don't have an account to reset a password on. Right? Because when we reset someone's password, we need to say, hey, check to see if they already have a user account. If they don't have a user account, tell them that. Now I've got a crashing server and I don't know why. Error. Column username does not exist. So wherever I used a username, we need to change our login to use email now. So up in, is that the problem or is there a different problem? Error missing column. Username.
Might be besides login, might be in our register, or you guys use create account maybe.
Yeah, it's in create account. It's in create account, so we'll say email there. And maybe you were onto something, Wayne, that we should have just added a column instead of changing the existing one. Okay, so I changed the quick way to get through all of that is if you do a search for any place where there's a username colon and replace it with an email colon. Doug, go ahead.
So more weird database stuff. When I go to my blog database, it's showing me my capstone.
Share your screen. I'm wondering if you have a connection URL issue at Heroku and things synced across projects that shouldn't have.
So here's all of my local ones. This is, that's my capstone, inventory, etc. And then this is log. But the weird thing is my local blog is still getting its posts.
Yeah, I wonder if at some point you had your capstone backend connected to the blog database by accident in the connection string, and that's why it synced over the tables.
You all right?
That's That's my only guess.
Oh, right, because I do have the blog tables. I got posts.
Yeah, so you can probably just delete out the tables that blog doesn't use and be okay.
Okay, thank you. And how do I avoid? How does that happen that I accidentally synced my
I
Heroku
think
data?
you just had that's on local, right?
What we're looking at right now, yeah.
Yeah, so I think what happened at some point was that in your db.js file for your capstone, in the connection URL string, you accidentally had /blog instead of /capstone.
I did. That was one of the bugs I solved this weekend. Okay, thank you. That's how that happened.
Yep, no problem. All right, do we have other questions?
I'm just still typing code.
Again, if you're getting any errors about username in the terminal, just do a Command F for username with a colon and then hit the little drop down arrow and replace everything with an email colon. Doug, is that a former hand raise or a current hand raise?
That is former.
Okay. Every time I lower someone's hand, I feel like I'm hitting it with a fly swatter. Get that hand down. All right, let me do a quick poll to see where you guys are at. It's okay if you just need a couple more minutes.
Was the data type varchar and then 255 in parentheses?
Yes.
And
I don't know if that syntax is spot on. Add column, alter table. See how good. No, there's no type. You just take that out. Should be that.
okay. Thank you.
Can I
No
share?
Go for it.
Um,
Okay, use date properties of null. Okay, so go to your front end code. Email use date password reset. Scroll down to your input. Oh, I was looking at my own code. On change email, set email. Don't see anything wrong with that. Scroll up a little bit. On submit, send password reset, send password reset. Scroll up. I don't see anything wrong. Got password. Forgot password. Scroll up a little bit. Got password. Let me see. Invalid hook call. Hooks can only be called inside the body of a function component. Okay, that tells me that something's screwed up. This should be forgot password. Forgot password. This should be no parentheses down here. Forgot password. And now you're back in business.
okay. Thank you.
Yep. Anyone else need help? Good to get going? Okay. So now we get to the fun part and the new part of, well, how do we
You're not
send,
sharing your screen.
how do we send that email? We are going to use a service called SendGrid. And SendGrid is a, they let you send up to 10,000 emails a month for free. So I'm going to sign up for an account. Password must have at least 16 characters, because why would they let you use a short password? Jesus, that's still not long enough. Okay. I'm gonna hit, I'm not a robot. Again, I'm on signup.sendgrid.com, or just go to sendgrid.com and hit sign up. This is a free account, and you do not need to put in a credit card. So I'm gonna hit create account, and I am going to wait for that email to come through. I may have to fill out this form in advance before I get that email. I probably do. So I'll fill out this information. You do not have to enter a phone number. You can just put developer 0 to 100,000 and 1 to 500 people. You're going to hit the get started button down here. Okay, and you should get to this page. With that said, I just got an email. I'm just going to do it on my phone because I'm not signed into the account, but it's really a basic email that says, like, click here to confirm your account. Make sure that you do that. So just pop open your email. You should have an email from SendGrid after you fill out that basic form. And if you click on the link, you should get a account email address confirmed. So from here, once we're in, we're going to create a single sender. And I'm going to say the front name is Max Matthews. The from email address, this is really important, needs to be whatever email address you just verified. The reply to can be the same exact address. And there is a weird federal legal requirement that you use an address when you send emails programmatically. It is part of an act called CAN-SPAM, or CAN-SPAM, CINSPAM. And it's just a way to reduce the amount of spam that you get. So you can really use any address here because we're just, testing it locally. I'm actually going to use the test garden address, the tech garden address, but you can use whatever. I'm going to say US, and I'm going to say tech garden.
Can we just use that too?
Yep. So once you enter all of that, you're going to hit the create button, and you'll see it says sender has been created. To verify sender identity, check your inbox at maxm@hackupstate.com. Okay, so apparently I need to go get a second email that they're about to send me and verify that one as well. So you'll get a second email that looks very similar, except it says, it will say verify single sender. You also need to do that as well.
I'm sorry. I missed the reply to part.
Same thing as your email address.
Oh,
And when you do the single sender one, apparently you need to sign in to your account if you are not doing it on the same device.
I'm a little behind, Max. Is it create a single sender is
Yes.
the process you're on? Thank you.
Oh, and now apparently you have to do two-factor. My God, SendGrid is pain in my butt.
What role developer?
Developer, yes.
Emails.
Nicole, go ahead.
Mine says attempting to send from a free email domain like Yahoo is not possible.
Does it say not possible or not recommended?
It's not possible, learn more.
Mhm.
At yahoo.com.
Um,
Gmail
you-
said
if you
not
run into
recommended.
problems with setting this up, I'm just gonna send you my API key and you can use that instead.
The website that we should use, weirdly.
You can just whatever domain that you bought earlier on in the program, you can use that, or you can use hackupstate.com.
The domain that we bought.
If you guys are running into issues during this account creation process, I'm just gonna give you access to my API key so you can use that to test. So you don't need to set all of this up. I will say though that the API key is gonna stop working after tonight. Just because it will get posted to YouTube and you're never supposed to post something like that to the internet. But I will share it with you guys for tonight so that we can keep going on this.
But did you nickname it?
I just called it Hack Upstate.
Okay.
Okay. I'm gonna power through, assuming that most people did not get through to the verified step, which is okay. I'm gonna give you guys my API key so we can all use that together. So I'm gonna go to the API key section of this and hit create API key. I'm gonna say that it's got full access, and we're gonna say CIC class 82322. So you want to protect this API key because people will use your API key to send out spam. So that's why you only, completely forgot about break. Let's go on break. Be back at 7:25.
What do we use for buy our domains again? I don't remember.
Namecheap or Google Domains? I think Namecheap.
Yeah, it was Namecheap. Mind walking me through where are we supposed to be at before we get
Share your screen.
I was doing too much.
So go, are you caught up in your code or over in SendGrid?
Yeah, she's around. Yeah, I think I'm caught up with my code. There's yeah.
Yeah, that looks good. Okay, so in SendGrid, oh, you went down the rabbit hole of doing domain level authentication. We set up the single sender authentication,
Which was where?
the blue button right there.
This one.
And so if you do your from name and email address there, so you can say Wayne there. And then your from email address is going to be whatever your domain forwarder setup is.
Reply.
Same thing as your Gmail. And then country just set to US. And then nickname, you can just say like Careers in Code or Capstone or whatever you want, doesn't matter. Okay, now go to your email and verify that.
It's gonna send to my email.
To your Gmail, yeah. Yeah, and then API key name you can just say is Careers in Code or Capstone or whatever you want. And then create and view. And you're good to go.
Just leave that there for now. Leave that up for now. We're gonna need this key.
Leave it there. You're all caught up.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so we are at this point where you should have API key created. Do not navigate off of this page. Once you do, it tells you right here, for security reasons, we cannot show it to you again. So if we go back over to our code in VS Code, we don't want to just plop this into our code, because when we commit this, the API key is going to be part of the commit, and we don't want that to go up to a public repo. So instead, we're going to do the same trick that you guys have done with your node modules and your git ignore. We're going to make a new one, and we're going to say it's the SendGrid API key .js. We're going to say export default, and we are going to drop in our API key here. So I just copied it from here and pasted it into my SendGrid API key. And then over here, I'm going to make a new file called git ignore, and I'm going to say ignore my SendGrid API key.js. So that way this SendGrid API key file never gets committed in to my repo, but I can still access it here. Whenever a API key is out to the public, like if you just shared an API key on a YouTube video, you should make sure that you go back into SendGrid and just expire the API key. So if you go to settings and delete API key, don't do that now. But if your API key ever gets leaked, that could be used to be sending spam emails that you don't want, right? So if a SendGrid API key ever gets out on the internet, you can just come in here and delete the API key. You also may get locked out of your account and slapped on the wrist by SendGrid saying, hey, someone's using your API key. They really shouldn't be doing that. So by putting it in this separate file and putting it in a git ignore, that prevents you from accidentally publishing your API key. Because I've shared my screen and all of this is public, at the end of class tonight, I will come in and delete my API key. That will prevent any emails from my forgot password from sending out, but it will also make sure that other people who may have seen this API key also cannot use it for nefarious reasons. So from here, now that we've got our SendGrid API key set up, we can actually go over to npmjs.com, and I'm going to do a search for SendGrid, and the first thing that comes up is this SendGrid mail. While I'm in here, I'm going to Control-C, and I'm going to npm.
Max.
Yep.
No, sorry, are you live sharing?
I should be.
don't
Yeah,
see it
yeah.
weirdly. It's not.
If you go to the Slack and the live stream channel, it should be in there.
I agree. Because I can't find you to send whatever.
Yeah, I
API key.
can't see it at all either. So maybe I need a little bit more.
I'm only saying that because I'm on one monitor. So right now. So
Can anyone else see my SendGrid API key file?
I can see it.
Okay, it's not me then.
Okay. I guess I'll join the live share again.
Yeah, if you just
Oh,
close
weird.
it, and open it.
Yeah, I don't see it either.
Okay, let me stop my live share
Alright.
then and restart it. It's gonna boot all of you guys, but maybe something got out of sync on my side. Let me just close it and reopen it. Log back end. Share. My computer may have like gone to sleep and lost some connections. Try that link instead.
Where did you put the link?
Oh, I'll put it in Zoom as well.
Thank you.
Zach, I just saw your question. The key name doesn't matter. You can put anything in there if you didn't figure that out already. Okay, so now that I've got all of this done, I'm actually going to go to my terminal and I'm going to Control C out of anything, and I'm going to npm I, and we're going to do @SendGrid/mail. And while we're in here, we're also going to install Nano ID. You guys will see that in a second. So I'm going to install those two. Then I'm going to npm run start again. And now we get to have some fun setting up our SendGrid. So I'm going to go to my server.js. I'm going to have this API documentation open in the background. And I'm going to scroll down to this point that says, you notice they're doing the same kind of get ignore steps. They're just doing it in a file that says .env. So we're going to come down here and I'm going to copy this require and this set API key. And I'm going to come over here. I'll do it right under my bcrypt, but instead of my API key coming in from process.env, we're going to say const API key is equal to our require ./SendGrid API key. And then we're going to modify this to pull in the API key. And it is mad at me for my unexpected, it's not export, it's module.exports equals. My bad. So SendGrid API key, I modified that so it now says module.exports and has my string in there. Server.js, it should have all of this and it should have our connected successfully. So I'm going to pause there because I know that was a lot of miscellaneous steps.
I sadly can't still see that, but you were on it, but I'm like following you. So when you went over to the other one, I tried to get back to it. It was gone. But yeah. So I might just be behind in that part.
Your SendGrid API key, you just need module.exports a quote and then paste in your API key that you generated.
Okay, thank you.
So what commands did we put into the terminal?
Just an npm I, SendGrid mail, and Nano ID, and then an npm run start again.
And SendGrid enables us to
Send an email from our backends.
Okay.
Have we put anything in the front end for for the send grid?
No.
Okay.
You know, I'm wondering if the reason you can't see my SendGrid API key is because I have it in a git ignore.
Probably.
I wonder if
have-
that's a security thing.
I can see your node modules though. Are those in your git ignore? Oh, SendGrid API key just appeared for me.
Oh, that's so interesting. Okay, so if
Oh, I
go
put
to my
mine in
git-
there because yours was in there.
So it should be, you should have a git ignore
Okay.
for your SendGrid API key, but I'm gonna leave mine commented out just so you can see my file for the purposes of the share.
Oh, okay.
But git ignore, your git ignore should look like this.
Mine also has module exports in it, but it does look like that.
Your SendGrid.api key should look like this.
Yeah, it looks like that. I was saying that inside my git ignore is also the API key and node module.
Oh, that's fine.
And quickly, did we do any other steps on the back end? Because mine just crashed the name module not found.
Yeah, mine crashed too.
You control C your terminal.
Oh, no, I didn't see
NPM the SendGrid mail and nano ID, and then NPM run start again. Zach, go ahead.
I did input that and my server's still crashing.
You ahead and share your screen.
Can you drop that in the command in the chat, please?
There you go. Scroll down to the crash. Okay, too far. Little further up. Okay. Oh, go to your SendGrid dot. Actually, don't do it yet. And npm run start again. Oh, you've got two commands in there.
Cool, thank you.
No problem.
And there's no changes that are on the front end. Nothing changed. We just.
Not yet. So we good to keep going?
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm all good.
Okay. So I'm shooting for being done at 8 here. So we're gonna finish up these steps and we should be all set. So we can now actually send an email. We've gotten everything set up so we can send our email. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually add one more column to my beekeeper. So I'm connecting to Postgres.
Not
I'm
sharing
going,
your screen.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. I'm going to add a column to my users table called password reset token. And it is varchar is fine. So I'm going to highlight this and run it. I'm not in the right database. Blog. Now I'm going to run it. And if I look at my users, I now have a password reset token. So some of it are all in lowercase. Okay, so I need to alter table rename password reset token. Doug, do you remember what we said? Was it single quotes or double quotes?
Oh, I don't remember.
I
Let's
think
try
it's
this.
single.
You thought wrong. It is double quotes for column names, but single quotes for column values.
That's very confusing.
I did not come up with SQL. SQL was invented before I was born. I do not have the power to modify that. Okay, so I added my password reset token column. If you do it right the first time with this, you do not need to run the alter table. But I forgot the double quotes, and that's what made it come in all lowercase. So in my blog backend, I'm going to modify my user to have a password reset token with a data type of string. And now my model knows about that column. So what we're going to do, we're going to bang through this forgot password code. So we're going to say, if the user exists, what we are going to do is go to the user, go to their forgot password token, and make it equal to a nano ID. That nano ID, I slip that install in up here. And up here, you'll see that there is a require for nano ID that got added when I imported that. That nano ID is going to generate a random ID for us so that when we reset the password token, it's going to get stored in the database, if I can find that code. So once we add that to the user in the database, we are going to save that user so it gets updated in the database. We are then going to fire off a message, which I am going to use this information. So I'm going to say, hey, the message I'm sending is all of that data in there, and here's how I want to do it. So I'm going to come in here and paste that in. And I'm going to say, who's it going to? It's going to the user.email. Who's it coming from? It's coming from that email address that we verified at SendGrid. If we don't use this exact email address that we verified over here under the sender authentication, if it does not match this verified email address, SendGrid will refuse to send it. It will only send emails on SendGrid from emails that we have verified. So the subject is going to be, you needed a reset. The text we can actually take out, and the HTML, we are going to say, click here to reset your password. And the information that we are going to put into the here is an A tag that has an href going to make this a template literal instead, going to my HTTP localhost 3000. That's going to my front end. It's going to the set password page, and it's going to include a token that is equal to the user.forgot password token. Are you going to let me move this onto multiple lines? No, it's not. Okay, I know that was a lot, so I'm pausing there.
Mm-hmm.
And repolling.
Wow.
While you guys are working on that, Capstone Group, any easy questions that you may have?
Quickly, can you just show I forgot Beekeeper, I didn't get it all.
Oh, yeah. If you haven't run the command at all, Nicole, you can just do this. If your users has a password reset token in all lowercase, you can run this command.
I didn't get to either. I just got alter table users. So
Okay.
should I just do the top one?
Just do the bottom one, and that should be fine.
Okay, thank you.
Alter table users, and to add that that extra column. Well, plus. Alter table.
In Beekeeper, should we be unable to manually add email addresses to our users?
Now you should be able to open the users table and modify this.
Hmm.
Add column, what's the column name?
One, Max, sneak back 2 more seconds, please.
DB. User. Oh, crap. I'm looking at the wrong. You know why I can't see your DB.js?
No
the-
idea.
Is it the way that you shared it this time?
No, I even uncommented out my SendGrid API key, so you could see that.
Yeah, I'm not. The only thing I'm seeing is open editor, and then you have 3 files: your get ignore, your server JS, and your
So
server-
click on the little file icon on the left of my window, and then you can open whatever file you want. So, well, that was a little aggressive.
No. What file? Which icon?
If you click on the Explorer over here on the left,
I
you should
mean,
open up this over here, and then you can just open whatever you need.
let me share my screen and show you what I'm seeing.
Okay.
It's weird. So this is you right here.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh. Open live share. Open Visual Studio live share. That's kind of everything. Scroll up to the top and close node modules. And then you can get into my DB and my DB.js.
Okay. All right. It's a weird look.
It looked like you just need to collapse the top of that menu.
Okay, it looks like most of you guys are caught up with the password reset. So I want to get us over the finish line here. Believe it or not, if we go to share a screen, if we go to our, make sure our npm run start is running in the background. Oh no, it's available. Require is not supported. Instead, change the require to a dynamic import, which is available to all. Okay, so do I just need to do nano ID is an import? Okay, apparently I needed to change my require because nano ID is updated and it uses a newer syntax. So if all goes well here, I can actually go back to my forgot password. I can click the send link button and it immediately crashes and says nano ID is not a function. Okay, it's the imports coming to get me. Let's try that again. Clear that, send link. Nano ID is not a function. Okay, how am I supposed to use Nano ID then?
It says user password equal nano. It's messed up.
Yeah, but it's this import up here that's causing me problems. That's undefined. That's a promise. Can I await that? No, you're mad about that. Okay, let's try this instead. Nano ID const nano ID equals await and import from nano ID. Then console log nano ID. Let's see if that works. Send link. Nano ID still is not a function, but I do appear to have access to the right stuff. So let's see if we put that in there. Trial and error sometimes. Send link. Okay. I have no errors. I did have to take out my import or require of the nano ID up top and use this syntax instead, because nano ID is one of the cool kids who has moved away from the require system. And if all goes well, I should, in a couple minutes, have an email with our password reset link. Check that sucker out. We haven't reset. And if we look in our beekeeper at our users table, you can actually see over here, if I refresh it, that our password reset token did not get saved like it was supposed to. Port nano ID user password. Oh, password reset token is the name of the column, and what the column should have been called here. So I just had it called the wrong thing here. So we are going to wrap it up here. If you are able to get your email sending on Thursday, depending on how class goes tomorrow, on Thursday, we'll wrap this up and get the reset token page created and actually flowing through and setting the new password. Tomorrow, we are going to do a JavaScript mega review. So we're going to go over some miscellaneous interview questions. We're going to go over ES6 functions that interviewers love to ask you about. And we're going to go over a couple general topics tomorrow. Thursday, we will wrap up anything on password reset and any outstanding lingering issues. But for the next 34 minutes, I will stick around and help with any capstone questions. Ariel posted the feedback form. Feel free to submit that. If you submit the feedback form with anything that you would like to see in the next 2 days, we will make sure that we cover those topics then. Any questions?
I'm not able to add this column to beekeeper. Maybe I didn't
Share your
put
screen. Let's take a look.
the thing right.
Oh, data type is supposed to take out data type in column restraint. That's supposed to say varchar colon varchar parenthesis 255.
I don't think it even had data type.
It didn't.
It didn't have data type.
That's what you're supposed to replace. Okay.
Yeah, it had quotes.
No,
around
just take
class.
that out. So parentheses. No parenthesis, not underscore. And then 255 goes inside the parentheses. And then table name should be replaced with users. And then put password reset token in quotes because it's got capitals in it. Run it, babe.
Run.
Beautiful. Go over to users and scroll over. There's your password reset token.
Thank you. I need to add the same thing to database.
Nicole, go ahead. And Wayne, you're gonna add that to
DB.js.
not DB, to the user.js.
Oh, user. Okay.
Can you help me? Mine's when I sent email, I didn't get an email, so can you help me figure out what I'm missing?
Yeah, let me see your forgot password endpoint. User email, user find. Okay, go back over localhost. And you didn't get any errors, did you?
No.
Okay, go to your beekeeper.
Ooh, ooh, ooh.
And your users you have set updated to email. Double click on that for me. On the users table itself. When you did your reset, did you do a capital N? Oh, I know what your problem is. Go to the front end code. You need to add in here the EVT and the EVT dot prevent default. So now when we come over here, go for it. Okay, now you've got a 404 not found, forgot password. I bet that you're missing a capital P in your endpoint on the back end. No? Oh, it's instead of app dot, no, you were right. You had that right. You need a app dot post instead of app dot get on 171. Okay, back to the front. Try it again. Okay, no errors. So go to your back end. No errors there. So now go to your email and hit the refresh button. Do you have a spam? I found mine in spam.
Yeah, I'm just gonna check it off of.
Okay. Yeah, definitely check the spam. And raise your hand back up if you are running into problems. Sometimes it takes like 2 or 3 minutes for it to come in, but if you don't have it by like 8:05, we'll debug more. Christy, go ahead.
So my GitHub keeps spinning.
Okay.
and- Let me find it.
That's
No.
not good.
Right, and it won't stop.
Um,
We checked, so my front end, I have it set up to where it automatically, ups, like I don't have to do git push Heroku. So it automatically does it. Where'd it go? Oh.
Fixed it.
Yay, let me see. Did it work? Did it work?
I just quit it and opened a new tab, or I just quit it and reopened it, and that got it unstuck.
I put some stuff in Beekeeper and it's not showing up.
Well, this is your local host Beekeeper, right?
Oh. No, it's been showing up. Nathan copied it.
Right, but now that it's copied, every time you add something new, you have to be careful. Are you adding it to local or are you adding it to production? The copy is a one-time thing. They won't stay in sync.
Oh, it's been showing up. So I've
So
been putting,
this stuff will show up on localhost, but it won't show up on your deployed version.
and is my,
Your deployed version, you've got to open a new window to get to. So go to File, New window. And then hopefully, yeah,
this one?
Capstone Heroku, right? So open that one, double click. And now you notice there are only 4 favorites in there. So
So,
I'll show you a trick. What you can do is you can copy these. You can right click on it and you say copy row insert.
okay,
And then you can go over to Beekeeper over here and go to just a blank query.
mhm.
I'm just going to do this in a new tab so it doesn't over. And if you paste it, there's everything in there. So when you run it, now when we go back to the favorites and refresh, that row copied over.
All right, so I go in, copy, and then bring it over here, but I have to do a new,
So you right click, you hit copy row insert,
copy row insert.
and then you go back over to the other tab, you clear out whatever's in there and paste in, and then you hit run.
Paste and run. Okay. I forgot about that because I've been working on localhost and not Heroku. So
Yep.
thank you.
Nicole, you're up.
Oh, there it is.
So it's still not like it's, I did just double check. if the
Okay,
other
so hold
one
on. Let
is
me
ever-
look at.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
There's not even like saying like no password reset, like the red words that's supposed to be there.
No, we haven't done the error message yet.
Oh,
I want to check to see what's going on in your network tab. So if we hit the send link and look in here, it says, oh, password has not been reset. Go check your email.
okay.
But is that just a typo? Backend, forgot password,
All right.
user email. From there's an error down here. this should say password has been reset. So what we can do is if we go back to
That's you?
grid
Yeah, that's me. Oh, hi, Mom. Hi.
and
I
activity,
can see you.
show all activity. That is that still not showing up? No. Okay, let me check one more thing. Beekeeper. Oh, your email is Yahoo. When you were doing a reset, were you doing at Yahoo or were you doing at iCloud?
I did both of them just to double check. Mom.
Okay.
You can read.
Yep. I got you muted, Nicole. I'm gonna look for. I just want to look at your backend query for the user. Await user, find one where the email, if there's a user, pull in the nano ID, set it, save it, and send it from your iCloud. So let me look at, I'm pretty sure it would error out differently if it weren't in your verified senders. Sender authentication. It's sending from your iCloud, and you're positive you checked the spam in your Yahoo.
Yeah, I did. I'm gonna double check now that you read it over and now
Okay.
you can go, Zach.
Zach, go ahead.
I don't know if I missed a step, but my server's crashing.
Yeah.
I don't.
So it doesn't have the password reset token. Oh, you know what it is? It's me. I made a mistake. I made a bad call of changing my username to an email instead of just adding a new column. So what we did is we just did a find and replace everywhere, and we made it line up with the new email column.
I didn't change that in my database.
Edit, undo. Okay, then that gets put back. Can you open your Beekeeper and let's look at what the table looks like? So users has username. And then did you add, okay, you've got password reset token, but it's all in lowercase. So that's what's not lining up. So if we do in here, we have to rename the column. So we say alter table users, rename column, password reset. Oh, all lowercase here. Reset token. And is it 2? Is that the right Beekeeper? Yeah. And then we say password reset token. The quotes is what will tell it to not lowercase it. So if we just run that one.
Wait.
Oh, go ahead. Thank you. Highlight that, run it. And then go back to your backend and reboot the server. Okay, now you've got an unexpected equal on 56. That should say 56 should be user dot password reset token. On the other side, yeah, you got it.
camel
but
case or no?
camel case on that one. And let me just make sure, password reset token, yeah. And then you also need that in your user.js if you haven't updated that. But it looks good. Yeah, you got that right.
Okay.
So you should be able to test in your front end and send a reset. Oh, just keep in mind though, do you have an email column in your database?
No.
Okay, so there's no way to associate the user with the, you know what I mean? There's no way to associate the user with what you're trying to reset. So I would do here, I would do this. Let me just jump right in. I'm going to add a column called email. And we'll run this. Then we'll confirm that it added the email. So then we go back to here and we go back to your, nope, back to your front end, back end.
Sorry, it moves the stuff around for some reason. There you go.
Okay. So here we're going to do the same thing. We're going to say email is data types. Oop. Data types. Oh, come on, let me do it. Types dot string. And then we just need to modify your forgot password to say that when they type in their username, we want to check. Well, I guess we want to make it all email based, right? So email, user email. So you can say in Beekeeper, am I going in the right direction? Yes,
Yeah.
I am. Users, if you do a search here, and then you can just do your email address in there. So go ahead and add an email, and then you should be able to fire that off.
So I'm gonna have to modify my create profile to,
Yeah, if you want forgot password to work, because there's no way to, you know, send them an email verification if you don't have their email address.
yeah, okay.
Okay, now there's no error here. Go check your backend terminal. And there appears to be no error there, which means hopefully that you're going to get the reset email in a minute or two.
Okay,
And if not, let me know and come back.
thank you.
Can I
Wayne,
get
raise your hand if you want to go. Larry, you're up. Oh, and Nicole just beat you in. Oh, but she put it back down. So raise.
Yeah, so you can go ahead.
Larry, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm totally confused over here. So I'm trying to add, I'm trying to make my list page,
Okay.
and I'm trying to do it in React, and let me share my other screen. This is what I got so far with the input, and
Okay.
it's not keeping any input. It's not letting me type either.
Okay. So go to your input in your code. And you've got your value new item on the input, but you forgot your on change. So you need an on change equals curly braces. Capital C.
and the other one is probably for a one-on-one. And but don't I have to?
Parentheses EVT,
Yeah.
and then outside the parentheses, but inside the curly brace. Arrow function, curly braces, another set of curly braces, and then set new item to parentheses EVT.target.value.
Thank you.
Yep.
I have a one-on-one for Thursday because I know the other stuff is probably too long. But all right, thank you.
Cool.
Me too. Gotta be one of.
Wayne, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Yeah, we're probably gonna drive you crazy this week.
And next, that's why we're in person next week. So you guys you can ask lots of questions.
So I need to do one more thing. I have to change the username to email from
Okay.
to make sure it works, right?
Yep.
All right, it won't work.
So open up your users on the left so we can see what we're dealing with. And it's still a username in here. Okay, so go back to your query. And your query is going to say alter table users, rename column. MN, there you go. Username. And then to email.
That's it.
That's it. So run that, and then you also update your model there from
Okay.
username to email.
Did the beekeeper just kill itself? That's funny.
It did just disappear on you, didn't it?
Yeah. Okay.
Yep, go ahead and run that. Oh, wait. Change your database to blog. Okay, now run that.
Would it make a difference?
Yeah, because wherever you execute the query is what database it's on.
Oh, okay.
And then change that model from email or username to email. Give me 1 second. I just have to rinse out my eye. I'll be right back.
Crash. Crap. Okay, maybe I need to stop it and start it again. No. Mhm.
One last thing we have to do in here is just do in here. I don't have remote control. That's why I can't do anything. Is in here, we just need to do a find and replace for anytime there's a username and replace it with the email. And now, nope, you still have a crash. Select DB problems, error missing column, ID, email, password, reset token, created that, updated that. Thought you had all those. Where is your beekeeper? ID, email, password, created that, updated that, and password reset token. User, email, password reset token. Oh, well, where username, where is it still doing a username? Where username, do you have a space somewhere?
Is it in the create new user all the way down at the bottom here?
Is that in DB maybe?
No, it's not.
Yeah,
It's
it
not.
is.
It is? Okay. Ah,
There you go. Now you're back online. Nicole, you're up while Wayne is testing.
Oh, look greasy. All right, let me share my screen.
You still not getting an email?
No, so I went back here
Yep.
and I thought maybe could I change it? Should I edit it? Or maybe something wrong with my code.
Well, it's your from Nicole at iCloud. So is that what you put in your backend?
Oh, maybe not. Hold on, sorry, it's a habit of pressing that. Bob.com. All right, never mind. And then let me go to my backend. This one. And then I didn't put an email on my backend.
No, you've got user, you did 180, 181. So you're sending it from your iCloud, which is what you put in as the verified sender. So that's
Right.
correct. But then what's in your
Okay.
database?
Should I change my email in the database?
Well, it's going to Yahoo. So you checked Yahoo for your spam and your,
Yes, and nothing
Okay.
for either of them.
and when you're in forgot password in the front end, you're typing in your Yahoo, not your iCloud.
Let me just double
No,
check.
in the browser.
Let's see. I'm just gonna refresh, and we're typing in my Yahoo, right?
Yeah. And before you hit submit on that, let me come in for just 1 second.
Mhm.
And I want to Zoom, you are killing me. Okay. I'm going to just do a reset. If there is a user, do the nano ID. Try this. I want to console log this out. Okay, so we go back. We hit send link. It looks like everything worked okay. We come back over to here. One more. And we say, aha, look at what's going on with these errors.
We're all across the bottom of the screen, so I can't see the terminal.
Oh, go ahead and move it.
Okay.
Okay, so you got this unauthorized here.
Mm-hmm.
401. So that means the problem's got to be with our API key. So if
Okay.
I think it's got to be with our API key. So API key, SendGrid API key, set API key, and resume it. We go back, we hit send link. Everything appears to be right, but now when we go back to your terminal, we got the same freaking error. Unauthorized 401.
Oh, all right. Oh.
Okay, so I'm gonna Zach, go ahead.
So, when I click the link, is it supposed to just like pull up a blank web page?
Oh, yes, it is. That's
Okay.
if you've gotten an email, that is a win for tonight.
Okay, cool.
I knew there was going to be plenty of problems and I wanted to save up time. And Nicole is functional and sending emails. Yay, we got 2 email sending. Doug, you were 3. Did you get an email?
3.
Woohoo! All right, we got 3 emails sending. All right, Scotty, you're up.
Okay, can you help me with my beekeeper really quickly?
Sure can.
I think I screwed something up, but who knows? All right, I definitely want to delete this because it didn't show up the way that I needed it to show up. So I definitely think I did it wrong.
You didn't do it wrong, and you just don't have any tables created in it yet.
But I don't think it populated properly to begin with.
Let me see your backend code before we go deleting.
Okay.
You need to
Oops,
stop
sorry.
your screen share.
Oh, sorry. Got you.
Okay, so all of this looks good. You are missing, however, you did all of the work in here. We just need to connect it to that database.
I did, and I just deleted it, trying to delete
But
out of
the
beekeeper because it
the
didn't. I
thing that
never
you're
got
missing, the only
ahead.
thing that you're missing in here is the connection to the database. So const db equals require db.js.
See, and then it crashed when I did have it, and so it's something else that's
Okay,
missing.
so it's telling you in business 18 there's a problem. So
Okay.
if you look at business 18, it's got a footer down here, and it's like, what the hell is a footer?
Oh, and that's because I copied a module trying to start
Okay.
putting it in hold.
Now in DB, business is not defined on 20. Well, you're trying to export business, not business.
Oh.
Okay, now even business is not defined because up here you don't have a user. You've got a business,
Right.
and that goes through to here. So now not only do you not get a crash, but when you go to Beekeeper and refresh all of this stuff over here, you've
It's gonna
got your
click the
businesses.
table. Gotcha. Oh, okay. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Thanks.
No problem. Good progress.
Thanks.
Wayne, you getting some email sending?
Still ain't getting no emails.
Go ahead, share your screen.
Okay.
Okay, let me just
Yeah, I have no idea what this is right now.
request remote. We are gonna just get rid of Keynote. Here, let me I can quick Keynote for you. Okay, so we are going to come down to your backend code, which is going to be around here somewhere. Is it okay? Thank you. And I'm going to come down to your server.js.
Why I can't get rid of that?
Oh, not that one. Server.js. And where is your forgot password? Okay, oh no, you've got all of this in here. You are nano IDing. Then you send grid.send. So I'm gonna just console.log this beauty. And we're gonna save that. And then I'm gonna go back to your thing here, and I'm gonna send link. Then I come back over to here, and notice nothing came out here. So something's gotta be wrong before we get to that point. So I'm guessing, let's look at your Beekeeper, and you didn't update your email here. It's still a username. So it it doesn't know how to send a password reset to Wayne because Wayne isn't an email address. So if
Oh,
I just copy your email and put it in here, now your username has been updated. So we send the link, we go back over to your backend, and we have a 202, which is a good sign. So go check your email and let me know if you're still missing it.
okay. I'll let you know.
You were almost there. You just had to update it so that it knew that your username was your email address.
I was gonna ask you about that when you changed the username to email. I was like, what?
Larry, go ahead. It is officially 5 minutes after class. If you are tapped out and don't feel like you're getting anything out of class, get out of here. I don't want you here anyway. If you are getting stuff out of class, feel free to stick around.
I think I figured it out. I was trying, when I click the button, add the item to the list, or at least console log it. So console log. I mean, yeah, I think
Cool.
I figured it out.
All right. Any other questions? We got 4 emails sending tonight. That is very good
Well,
progress.
no, because now it's giving me the same thing. Oh, all right.
Larry, I'm happy to stick around if you want to work through it.
Let me just make sure. Yeah, now it's double sending. All right. So like I typed the word Y and it came up, but what happened was it did buy. So watch how Y is there. Now I type new and add item is gonna say Y again. And then if I do it again, now it's gonna say you. I forgot why
Okay,
it
let's
does
look
that.
at your code.
All right, share.
Okay, so the whole point of using the unchanged item typed in, your form submitted is the button to add item to the list. Okay, hold on. Item typed in, your form submitted is just preventing the default, and then you're doing it on the on click. Oh, okay. It's actually doing the right thing. The thing that you want to modify is that set items happens asynchronously. So if you just in your console log, instead of logging out the items, log out what you're setting in line 9. So like literally just
The new
copy.
item. But
So you're here. Let me remote control, and I'm gonna do something that might make it a little easier. So down here, I'm just gonna do a UL. And I know that you don't want it to actually show up here, but this will make it easier to visually see. Items.map item. Oop. Item, and the item is going to show list item of the item. So ignore this console log for now, and I think you're going to find that that's going to work. You're doing everything right. That set items, though, doesn't run immediately, which is why the console log was wrong.
oh, I need a unique key. I know how to fix that. All right.
Now, I don't know if you want that there, that bullet point list, but your set state, you were doing everything right. It was just the console log was happening before the items were able to get set.
So I have to make it an async function and then await it or something.
Well, it depends on, do you really need that data immediately after you set the items? Because the other
No.
thing you could do is say something like this. You could say const updated items equals that, and then say set items to your updated items. And now when you console log, you just console log, whoop, come on, the updated items, and now that will also be accurate.
Okay. All right, yeah, that works. Okay, so if I wanted to submit based on also hitting return, how would I do that?
You're gonna move everything up into your form submitted. So your button needs a type of submit. And then this on click, you're gonna take off and say when the form is submitted, prevent default, but then also do your item, it's just gonna be easier to do this.
You got an I in front of us.
So I basically did your button type submit. Then I took whatever your on click was and took it off. But the
Gave
item,
me,
sorry, I did that wrong. My bad. The item type thing should have stayed there. This is what gets merged down. So we do EVT. We put that up there. And then we say this becomes the add item to list. My bad. That should be better.
and that will work even though I hit return to add the item.
Yeah, because the browser catches the return as a form submission as long as the button type is submit.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Good work, making progress. Any last questions?
Have a good night, everybody.
You too.
See you guys.